Legion Tactical Cutlery. Hold the line!
Hey everyone, how you guys doing? Grugs here, Legion Tactical Cutlery. Welcome back once again, troops, legionnaires, and any new recruits. As always, really appreciate you all taking the time to check out my channel and my videos. Today I'm going to be testing out the 704 Gear Wildcat. It's a folding flipper in D2 steel. And I'm going to do a little bit of outdoor work, and I'm going to do a little bit of construction work with this knife, okay? So let's put it to the test and see how this budget blade performs. What is everybody carrying today? Well, I'm carrying my Wildcat. Been carrying it for a few days. Been switching on and off, but this is the knife I've been carrying for today. Veterans, active military, as always, just want to say thank you very much for your service. Really appreciate you all. Thanks for taking the time to check out my video. Enjoy. Quick specs, and I'm going to skip the close-ups. You could take a look at the Legion premiere that I did on this. Once again, this is a 704 Gear Wildcat. Overall length, 8.3 inch. Blade length, 3.7 inch. Blade steel D2. Blade hardness, 60 to 62 HRC. Handle or closed length is 4.7 inch. Handle material G10, weight 5.2 ounce. Features thumb hole, it's a flipper. Liner lock, ambidextrous pocket clip. Comes with a case and has the 704 Gear lifetime guarantee. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of outdoor work. Very, very minor things. I'm not going to go crazy chopping today because it's hot, but I figure, I got to catch up on some of my videos, man. So going to be doing, I think, 2 704 Gear reviews today. But this is the one I'm going to be doing. If it gets too hot for me, I'll do the review another time for the other knife. But let's get started, man. Let's check this blade out. So I have a few things for outdoor use. I'm going to make some feather sticks, some curls, got some fat wood here. I want to see if the spine scrapes. I want to make a tent stake out of this right here. So I'm just going to put a few things down, and then we will get to them in a minute or two. But first things first, what I want to do is I would like to make a tent stake. So I'm just going to take maybe this piece right here, and I'm going to first start off with, cutting around here. All right. I'm going to see how the edge is going to hold up. This is a pretty hard piece, of wood here. This sticks. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dig in. I don't want to ruin it. I'm just going to dig in until I can snap it off. Oh, okay, it snapped. That helped. All right. Not the greatest piece of wood. Okay, I got these from a dead tree. So, but that worked. Okay, you could see it's crumbling. Maybe this might not be the best piece, but you know what? The hell with it. Maybe, just maybe, you might not have the your choice out there. For example, I'm in Florida, man. There's really not a lot of woods here except this crappy garbage. And sometimes you have to make the best of it. And then there's some parks where you cannot, cut down the trees or the woods, or actually it's pretty much marsh over here. So but it's pretty feasible. People forget tent stakes, or I've seen some reviews where they do an opening out in the field and they're missing a tent stake, Perfect opportunity to use a knife, okay, to make a tent stake, right? And if this is all you have, maybe. All right. Okay, that's nice and easy. Okay. This is not the greatest piece of wood, let me tell you. In any case, like I said, if this is all you have, you're going to have to make do. This thing is just crumbling. But this is what I found. I grabbed it, a little chamfering. Not the best, but like I said, you got nothing else, and you make do. Ugh, look at that, it's just falling apart. So you know what? Maybe I need to rethink the way I want to make that tip. Instead of making a tip, this will still be good enough to tap in to the ground, right? So now let's just make that notch. Let's see how, you know, this notch is going to work out. But the point is to show you edge and what you can do with it. Now it's a Wharncliffe type blade, so I kind of like that. And it's a little thin, the wood. Again, I just want to do a quick demonstration here. Using that very nice tip over here to just dig in. And okay, there's your number 7. All right, and let me just chamfer this a little more. Very dry, very dead piece of wood. But again, you might not have that opportunity to use something, you know, more exotic. Okay, that worked out fine. Okay, so now that's good. Let me just put this down. I've got some wood here. All right. So maybe, just maybe, you need to do a little batoning. I know that this is not that realistic, but hey, if you got to do it, whoops. Let me see if I could do it with this little piece right here. So the point is, just start the initial cut and then use the blade to make whatever little fire sticks that you want. Let me take off this bark over here. Okay. So I use this in a 90 degree. I saw a content creator do this. I'm like, that's a great idea, man. You know, you're not putting pressure on the lock bar. You're not putting pressure on the stop bar. Right. There you go. And you can make a whole bunch of this stuff. Here's something a little bit more dense. This is pretty dense, this wood. Let's try it with this one. Okay. You can see it's not going easy in. Yeah, this is dense, this wood. Very good. So now let me keep going with the 90 degree. All right, a little bit denser wood, but still doing it. Okay. I mean, listen, this is just for a small little fire. You want to warm up your water for a cup of coffee or whatever. Let me see if I have something better here. No, I don't. So maybe a good opportunity to test out the point instead. So that is a liner lock, right? Okay, opens up okay. Let's see. Nice. All right, if you guys don't want to do that batoning that I just showed you, I'm going to use the tip then to possibly split the wood. And again, it's a test to see how the tip holds up, all right? Nothing heavy duty. but in my opinion, something that should be capable for, knives. There we go. All right. It's getting there. Check out that tip. So far, so good. The tip is still there. Going through a little bit of a knot. Let's see how that's going to work out. I'm going to try going through this knot. Okay, you can see the knot right there. Let's see. Tips through. It's not bent. Well, that's a good sign. Okay. No, not there yet. Well, let's keep going until we are. Just trying to get it in that spot where it's stuck. Yeah, it's not coming loose. This is a good piece of wood here. Well, you know what? I came here to test. Let's see. That tip is still good. Just trying to get that area where I'm having the trouble with. There we go. Nice. A little prying. Okay. Not the best looking piece of wood. Would you do this out in the field? I don't know. I would. Okay. So now that I have this nice dense piece of wood done, we can make individual curls here. I'm glad I'm not swinging away today, troops, because it is very, very hot here. All right, so this is a nice dense piece. And even though I didn't do that 90-degree batoning, I used the tip, which is fine. All right, you can see it's not bent. So the heat treat seems to be good on this. And prepared, let's say, for a fire. Not that I would do it here in Florida unless I have to cook, but all right. Okay, good. So you can make a big pile of this stuff right here and then just lay your sticks however you want, and I'm going to test out the spine and spark it up. All right. Let's try a feather stick. I have a little bit different species here. Here we go. For those who like to make feather sticks. And what I like about this knife is it's full-size handle, man. I got a good grip in my hand. All right. So you can be taking out something in the woods unless you're hiking, doing a lot of hiking. Okay. Now I know this is a short piece, so I'm not going to get long curls. Curls, it still is. You could add it on top here, supplement what you got. Fine. It's fine. I'm going to take this dense piece of wood over here. See if I can make some feather sticks with this. Whoops. So they have these trees here on the complex. They're the worst, man. They're constantly dying, so they throw them out on the side of the unbuilt areas. I grab them, I grab them. I delimbed a knife the other day that the steel bent on, and I sent that back. I have a little video of that. And this stuff, I thought it was dead, this tree, but man, oh man, it is a solid piece, so perfect, for testing here. Not the greatest feather stick, but again, just to give you an idea. All right, this is a different species. So I did a little bit of batoning, not that somebody would do it, but so far so good. Okay, still looks straight, no wobble. All right, and the lock still seems to be engaging just fine. Now, let me just clean this up and let's just test out the spine a little bit, or do a little bit of scraping, and we'll test out to see if the spine is good enough to spark a ferro rod. And then we're going to do some work like as though I was at a construction site, because there is a construction site here, and a lot of these guys have pocket knives. This is a perfect knife, to have in your pocket. So we're going to be doing some testing with that too. So stick around. I got a few different pieces that I want to test out the spine with. This is that really hard, dense wood that I thought was dead, and it's not. Here's one species, here's another species, and then here's some fat wood, and we have the ferro rod. So let's try this first. And we'll test the liner lock and see if, the liner lock holds up. Not as good as I thought. I mean, it feels, I thought it felt sharp. It has a nice 90 degree. Let me try. Nope, not really very efficient, man. I honestly thought that this was going to do a little bit better scraping on the wood. Now I'm digging in a bit, and the lock is holding up, as thin as that is. So far so good. It's not like it's closing, but very little work on the spine. So a good, this knife might be a good candidate. It's cheap enough. It's a good candidate to use a 1-inch belt sander, maybe sharpen this up a little bit. But this is one species. Let me try something different. Very little. Very little. I think I'm starting to get that jimping area. That could be better. But again, very little. It's a lot of effort. You're just better off just making, real thin curls, instead of wasting all that time making the fluff. But I don't know, maybe you need to round something off. Maybe this might be enough. You could see now this thing is rounded off a bit. Okay, from scraping, it was a 90 degree, but now it's rounded off. So maybe, just maybe, this might be enough to round off something. Okay. Now this is the real hard, dense stuff that I thought was dead. So let's see. That's interesting. I'm faring a little bit better with this one. Yeah, I don't know why, but I'm sure some of you will take it. And I'm not even using that jimping area. Well, maybe. No, the jimping area is right over here, but I'm using the spine. And for this piece of wood, which is very, very hard, I'm successful. So I guess you gotta, first of all, you gotta figure out what you have available to you wherever you're going. And I guess you might have to try a few different pieces of wood. Who knows? In any case, for this species, it's doing it. So that's good news. At least we know the spine is functional. All right. That still looks straight. It's opening up. nice and smooth, working just fine. Now, last but not least, we have a little bit of fat wood here. I'm very happy that this worked on this piece of wood. So that's good. And again, this might be enough for the fat wood. Yep, for sure. That's great. I'm just digging in a little bit, putting pressure on that lock. Okay. Do you have to do this? No, you don't. Again, I like to know what the capabilities of my tools are. All right. And again, you could make nice thin little curls here as much as you want. Okay, you can see the curls over here. Make as much as you want to help start a fire. But if you're smart, make sure you bring a lighter or two with you. Okay. So that you could just, light it up, man, because you don't want to be doing, this all day long, especially if the day is damp. So now let's test out the ferro rod. Yeah, good. Okay, you could see, you could depend on this spine to spark up a ferro rod. The liner lock is working fine. Okay, we're good to go. That edge is straight. Still sharp, as you saw. I made the little fine curls here. Okay, I'm pretty satisfied. I think this can be a complement with a saw and an axe. Okay, in fact, perfect right here. Nice little combo, to take with you out into the woods. You don't want to bring a big blade. You got to, you like your pocket folder. This is a budget blade. All right, you don't have to bring anything expensive. Perfect. Now let's say, let's see what it does with some construction material. Okay, I got a lot of material here that I picked up, most of it off the ground. Some of this stuff I bought, like the paracord. Okay, but the rest, I picked up off the ground. Okay, so let's start off with the paracord. Just a small piece. I don't think they would use paracord at a construction site, but you never know. All right, easy enough to cut, or if you're in the woods, in the field, you're a soldier, you need to cut some paracord. This knife can do it. This is a little bit thicker stuff here. All right, 1100. Okay, nice and easy. Once again. All right. Now, I have some synthetic rope that I've found and wrapped around this nice tool over here. Okay, there was paracord on this, but the construction people threw this out. I grabbed it. Perfect for testing. Okay. Synthetic rope. All right. Again, this might be tying something. They need to tie something. They need to use this as a plumb line of some sort, using this knife at a construction site. It's awesome. This is on the floor. They use it. I don't know what for. It's sturdy. You're not going to snap this with your hands. All right. I'm not sure what they're using this for, but take out your pocket knife and you cut it, All right. Found a little bungee cord. All right. Let's see. We'll make this last a little bit. I found a little bungee cord here. See, stretchy. Found it on the floor. Cut. Little tubing. All right. Let's Let's use a knife to cut some tubing here, okay? And if you need to, for whatever reason, splice the tubing, perfect tip, this Wharncliffe. Okay, let me see if I can do this without blocking the camera. Nice and easy. You penetrate the plastic and then you use that tip to cut through. Awesome. Okay, so that's done. A little bit thicker tubing. All right, pretty thick. Let's see if I can use the tip to cut through it safely. Perfect. Okay, you could see I just cut through. So I understand that these guys here have proper tools, but I don't know, maybe they can't find it. They put it down someplace, they can't find it. Now they could use their knife, you know what I mean? To do whatever. Or if you're, a MacGyver type person, you might find some of this stuff in the field and utilize it to your advantage. These resources, okay? There you go. All right, there's even some, I don't know, whatever the mud inside of it, but it cut right through. Now let's get to a little bit more challenging stuff. Again, they wrap this. Now you see, usually they can come here and peel this off, but I never see anything peeled off. They must use a knife. They must use something like a tool like this to cut through. All right. This right here is used to tie down the roofs, pre-made roofs. All right. I'm dying to ask them if I can go cut their, this material, but they'll probably be like, can't do that for insurance reason. Two very challenging, very thick pieces of tie and plastic here. Okay, so give me a second here. And this is always a challenge, but I see these thick ties, they wrap big tubing. So it's a round tube, coiled, and then they wrap it with this stuff. I doubt that, maybe they have snips, but if you don't have the snips on you for whatever reason, all right, you're going to use this knife to do the job. This is some really thick tie. They have this wrapped around the brick for the driveway. This is thick stuff, man. So you have to kind of like go in on an angle, and there you go. All right. So easily useful around construction area. Perfect. Now, last but not least, I don't know. I'm just thinking maybe you have something expensive that you don't want to lay down between the newly applied tiles, because they have marble tiles here. Maybe you want to put a lamp down or something, and you need to make sure that that lamp is going to sit on something softer. So you might use the tip to, cut a piece of cardboard so you could lay whatever the expensive item between maybe the marble floor and something, because I see this all the time. So here you go. And last but not least, yeah. All right. I know you guys like to see this. Again, I never understand why, but there you go, troops. That's the demonstration right there, man. This knife is killer. All right. One of the very few content creators that walk the walk. I don't talk shit, man. So this knife is killer. All right. That was awesome, troops. This knife, to me, is extremely capable. I did some decent amount of work. I think it's more suited for the construction area. However, you could see it did the outdoors. Would I recommend you doing any kind of baton? Listen, if you had nothing else, and you need to do it, I just showed you the way that I know how without damaging, the lock bar or the stop bar. There's nothing wrong with what I did. Small piece, made a tent stake. It made feathers. It made curls. The spine worked on a couple of different pieces of wood. It worked on the fat wood. It sparked up a ferro rod. Maybe you got a knife, an axe and a saw. Perfect. This is perfect. Again, this could be a companion. You may not want to use the spine, or maybe the spine on your fixed blade is rounded off. Now you know that you could use your knife here, your pocket knife, your secondary friend, all right, to spark up that ferro rod to light up a fire. And for construction tasks, man, why not? You have this in your pocket. I know the construction workers aren't using this all day long. They're going to use it if they forgot their proper tool, you know, or if they just want something quick, down and dirty done. I think it did a fantastic job. It maintained its edge. It's still pretty sharp. Well, let's see. Okay. Everything's engaged. Okay. Opens up just fine. It's still centered, although I don't care about that, man. It's a tool. If you're going to be using this as a tool, you know, who cares, man? Who cares? The point is that this knife rocked. It worked. All right. That's something that a lot of people seem to forget in the knife world. The knife is meant as a tool. All right. And the way this cut things up, you know, easy enough to cut up fruits, vegetables, whittle some wood, etc. All right, troops. I hope you enjoy this. Let me know what you think. Let me bring awareness, everybody. Hashtag 22 a day. Hashtag 22 a day no more. There are veterans in active military who want to get out of the service. They do face a lot of challenges. Unfortunately, one of these challenges is suicide. So at the end of this video, pause on the slides. Okay, call those phone numbers, surf those websites, reach out to somebody in need. Seek the help you all have earned and deserve. Troops, Legionnaires, new recruits, let me know what you think about this folder. At the ready, troops, hold the line. Take care. Oh, by the way, it's not even a super steel. D2.
Legionnaires!